What's up guys, welcome back to Horsepower and Pizza. My name is Bailey. Today I will be working on my KTM sketchy kart, which is the BMW Power Wheels that I am putting the two-stroke KTM engine in. Before we get into the shop and I get started on that, I want to thank you guys so much for getting me to almost 800 subscribers. If you haven't already, please give this video a huge thumbs up and be sure to subscribe, because moving forward I have a lot more cool things planned. I also want to give a quick update on the E36. I did order all of the parts that Booker and I need to start to tie up the loose ends, so we're hoping before the end of the year to tear into that again and get it finished up so we can have it running, driving, and sliding next season. But other than that, we're just gonna get into the shop. I'm building the billet brackets that are going to hold the steering rack on my drift kart, which I have named the KTM Sketchy Kart. I already took the time to square up the material and get it to size. These are gonna be the bases, these are gonna be the caps, these are gonna get drilled and tapped, these are gonna get drilled and counterbored for the bolts to go down through and hold them together. And then there will be a bore in here like this. This is all to hold and mount the steering rack. I drew this all up in about 5 minutes with a pen because I didn't feel like doing CAD, so I apologize in advance for that. Head of the socket head cap screw sits down below the top here. Obviously the bolt sticks through the bottom. That's what we're looking for. I got both caps done. I'm going to drill and tap the main blocks. I got the first steering rack bracket drilled and tapped now. I have the cap finished, so what I'm going to do is put washers in between so it has something to clamp on when I bolt it together to cut the bore in here. And that bore will be the same size as this diameter on the rack. I'm building two of these to hold one side of the rack and then the other. This plate will eventually be milled to length to be the spacer that bolts in between the two main brackets. But I left these long because I'm not sure where everything's going to sit on the chassis yet when we build it. So if I leave them long, obviously I can cut it off easier than I can either remake them or add material to it. So now bolted on, the heads of the socket head cap screws are still recessed. Washers will serve as a spacer. They'll be out of there when I go to clamp this on, but then there will be a small gap on either side, and that will ensure even clamping. Whereas if I just bolted this to the main part of the bracket, bolted them together and cut that bore in there, there would be contact the entire way around this and it may not seat as tightly as I'd like it to, so that's the purpose in that. Now that these are both bolted together, I'm going to edge find them in the mill. Obviously center point is going to be 1 inch this way, these are 2 inches wide, so center point is going to be here in X. And then I'm going to edge find off of the bottom because I know how long these are, and the center point in Y is actually going to be this plus half of the thickness of the washer, which will put it right in the center of that gap. You'll see that all in the time lapse, and when we get back to the office I will show you how they're going to fit on this. While the second one's running, I'm going to deburr this one with the Dremel tool and pull it apart, and I can pull the spacers out of there and I can show you how it will bolt up to the rack. Upon assembly, this side is tightened and this side is just finger tightened. Now, I'm not sure that I did a very good explanation of the washers that I had in there as spacers. If I didn't put washers in here and I cut the bore to that, it would cut the bore to the same diameter that it is clamped on. If these came out a little bit bigger than the shaft that they clamp to, I can tighten these bolts down as tight as I can, but if I didn't put washers in here, there's no gap. So once this part tightens against the bottom part of the clamp, the rack could still sit in there and rotate, whereas you can get away with putting washers in there. It gives you a space. When it's clamped like this, the bore of that is still round, but because there's space for this to flex, you can clamp it down a lot tighter than if the faces were against each other and it was just completely round. I didn't do anything with drilling and counterboring the sides of these clamps for the crossbar that's going to go in here because I don't know how much is going to get cut off of this. We might not even put the crossbar in there. These might get welded directly to the frame when Danny and I start mocking all of that up. Danny and I hope to start mocking the chassis up for this thing very soon. With the holidays coming and everybody doing family things and we're working a lot and it's just, there's a lot going on. Booker and I are going to try to focus on the E36 on the weeks that I can't focus as much on the drift cart and vice versa. I'm very excited about both projects, more so the drift cart than the actual drift car because this is all engineered from the ground up. I have done all of the work and the planning and everything on this myself. I've built a lot of the parts myself. We have sourced literally maybe 5-6 parts for this thing off of the internet, and everything else I have designed myself. Pretty proud of that and really excited to see how it all goes. Once this one's done, I do have something planned moving forward for another one, so I'm really excited about that as well. The steering rack brackets were really the only thing that needed to be built yet. I am going to remake the sprocket hub for the rear drive system. I'm not really happy with how that came out, and it could turn out a lot nicer if I take the time and remake it. So I plan on doing that shortly. I don't know if I'll film it or not. And then everything else, Danny and I should just be able to start piecing things together, mocking things up here and there, and it's really just a game of making everything fit at this point. So I'm really excited to move forward on that. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Give this video a huge thumbs up. At Horsepower Pizza on Instagram, at Cold Pizza Podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and Instagram, at Pizza Boy Metalworks on Instagram, and www.horsepowerandpizza.com if you would like to support. I want to thank you guys so much. Until next Thursday, peace out. Build it for you.